But what do you do with this? What do you do with the Enuma Elish? What do you do with the Enuma Elish? It's a Babylonian creation account. What do you do with the Babylonian creation account? And by the way, have you ever heard of this guy here? Gilgamesh. Let me just do Gilgamesh first because he's probably more familiar with you guys. But Gilgamesh, is he before Moses? Many hundreds of years before Moses. Many hundreds of years before Moses. Could he have copied from Moses? No, he's hundreds of years before Moses, okay? Gilgamesh, okay? Utnapishtim was his name, actually. Utnap, we'll call him for short. Utnap goes out and the gods come down and basically he's told to build a boat. So Utnapishtim builds this boat, and by the way, all these animals come to the boat. He gets his family plus a whole bunch of other people, and they put him on the boat. And then he's on the boat for a while. The flood comes, lifts up the boat, drowns out the people. By the way, in the Gilgamesh epic, why were the people flooded out, destroyed?
They were too loud.
Yeah, they were too loud and stuff. See? You do that rap music? You see what can happen to you? All right, so anyways, just too loud. No heavy metal, man. And so the gods were just upset. Mankind's making too much noise, drowned them out. Okay? So he floods them out. But by the way, when they're in the boat and it's time the flood goes down, how does Utnap get off the boat? Does he send out some birds even? Yeah, he sends out some birds. So you've got a guy, builds a boat, gets his family, gets the animals on there, the boat rises up, the boat goes down and stuff, he sends birds out and stuff, and then comes out. Does that sound fairly familiar? Okay. Did Moses know the story of Gilgamesh? Interesting. What about the Enuma Elish? It's a creation account that comes from Babylon. Again, before the time of Moses. You've got a divine spirit and primeval chaos. Light emanates from the gods, plural. Firmament is made, the dry land is made, luminaries are made, and notice man is made last. And then after that, the gods rested. Does that sound familiar in terms of its basic structure? Is it possible then Moses copied the stuff, just didn't put down the footnote to the Gilgamesh epic and the Enuma Elish? Are there similarities there? Yes, there are. Now you say, Hildebrand, somebody here's done some ancient Near Eastern stuff, says, Hildebrand, you faked them out because you didn't tell them the real truth. You picked out the stuff that's all similar. Did I drop all the stuff that's dissimilar? You know how the gods made the ancient world? The gods had a war, basically, and they took one of the gods and they cut her in two and made part of her part the body and the other part the sky and stuff. Is that a little bit different in the Bible? Yeah, but okay, but then to take the blood, the blood, okay. Well, anyways, let's get out of there. All I'm saying is I've kind of milked this in one direction. Are these stories, but even though they're very different when you actually read it, and actually the Enuma Elish is trying to promote Marduk, the king of Babylon, are there similarities? Are there similarities? Now, does that surprise me? And the answer is no. We have not talked about, and this is very important, and I haven't talked about it, and I'm not going to develop, I'm going to do a terrible job at this. You need to take a course on Borgman or somebody that develops this more. Originally, when people were really old, like before Moses, before 2000 BC, did a lot of the poetry and a lot of the legends and stuff come down orally? Is oral different than written? Is oral different than written? Noah gets off the boat. Shem, Ham, and Japheth are his kids. They come off the boat. They were on the boat with Noah. Do you think Shem, Ham, and Japheth ever told their kids about Grandpa Noah and what happened with all these animals? Okay? Yeah. So Shem, Ham, and Japheth tell their kids. Now, by the way, would their kids be able to go talk to Grandpa Noah and say, hey, Grandpa Noah, Dad said this. Did that really happen like that? Would Grandpa Noah be able to straighten them out? Okay? Do you ever have Grandpa straighten you out? Anyways, but then what would happen? After 3 or 4 generations, would the story probably migrate? Would there be differences in the story? What's one of the beautiful and one of the problems of oral tradition? When oral stuff comes down, does it change from generation to generation? Let me be more specific. Okay, my son gets back from Afghanistan. He's telling oral stories. He just didn't have time to kind of like write them down because he was getting actually shot at every single day he went out. They were shot at, okay? So he didn't take the time to write this down. So these are oral traditions. So now he tells them, he's got a brother, Zach, and a couple sisters and stuff, and so we're sitting around the table, and he's a wonderful storyteller, and he tells stories, and so he tells a story, and all of a sudden, everybody is laughing their head off. He tells us something that was really, really stupid, and it was really, really funny, and everybody's laughing their heads off and things like that, and he tells a story. The children leave. My kids, okay, leave. Elliot turns now to the old man, me, and his wonderful mother, and question, does he tell us the same story? And when he tells it the second time, his parents are almost in tears. Question, was it the same story? Yeah, it was the same story. Question, did he leave out some details? Yes, he did. And when the kids left, he dropped some stuff on us that just totally blew me away. Question, was it the same story? Yeah, it's the same story. Can you tell a different story? You know who's great on this? Dr. Graham Bird here. Did you ever hear him play the piano? If you got him, and you get in his course, you say, hey, Hildebrand says, you got to play the piano for this class. He plays jazz. So he'll play the same song, but does he ever play the same song the exact same way? No. He does jazz. And so depending on who you are, do you tell the story differently to somebody who's 12 to 14 than you do somebody that's, say, 54 to 60? Do you tell the story differently? And when Dr. Bird plays the piano, he'll play it one way, and he'll play exactly the same song. You can hear it's the same song, but is it different? It's jazz. And so what I'm saying is, in oral tradition, do people jazz the story? In other words, you never tell the story exactly the same way. Noah tells it to Noah didn't tell it to his kids. His kids were there. The kids tell a story to the story down and stuff. Would you expect the story then to come down in variant form? And what Moses does, I think the Gilgamesh epic is remembering, Utnapishtim is remembering the Noetic flood. Only it's come down orally, and so it's got corrupted. What you have with Moses is that God comes down and says, Moses, let me tell you what really happened. And now you've got it from God coming, saying, hey, this is what really happened. Now, by the way, did the other people passing the story down, do they have the shell of the story? Yes, they do. But how should I say? God gives, the interpretation. I was going to say God gives his interpretation of the issue, but pretty much he did the interpretation, so it's kind of right. And so God tells Moses what happened. So therefore, I'm not surprised that there are echoes in other cultures that remember the story of the flood. I'm not surprised. God flooded them out, and I would expect other cultures to remember that and pass it down. Now, my guess is they didn't know Jehovah. They didn't know what was going on with it and stuff, so they made up, well, what was going on? Was it Baal, smoking out Asherah, or what's the deal here? I mean, the gods fighting or what? So, okay, does that make sense to you then? So I would expect some of the stories to be similar, and then God gives Moses what, the revelation from God. And so that's how I'd account for the Genesis. That's how I'd account for the similarities. That's also how I'd account for the differences. Now, by the way, is oral tradition, is it beautiful? Yeah. In some cultures, they memorize, when you go back with Homer and the Iliad and the Odyssey, some of the people in Croatia and stuff have 1,200 lines of poetry memorized, and they perform it. And every time they perform it, it's, some of you do theater. When you do theater, have you ever done theater 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights? Question, every night, is it different? Yeah. It's the same, yes, but it's different. Every night you perform that, there'll be something a little different. You had a question?
Yeah. So there's a flood, and everything got destroyed.
Okay.
Like all the people.
Right.
So after that point, wouldn't all the stories be the same?
Right. So when Noah gives the story, his kids, they saw it. The story's the same. Now his kids come, and I want to say they probably check back with Grandpa. So the story's probably pretty close. Now they have kids, now Grandpa dies, and the parents die. Now there's no way to check the story. And so the story, it's like if I told somebody here to say something and you passed around orally, by the time it got to you, it would be very different than what I said. So you know what I'm saying? Orally, the stories change. By the way, what I'm telling you is fact. We know this. We can compare, actually, in other cultures, Croatian cultures, the oral thing has been checked out. But you should just know that. I mean, if I started something here and I told him 3 sentences, and everybody had to repeat those 3 sentences all the way, by the time it got to you, would it be the same or different? It would be different. Okay.
What I'm asking is like how long exactly is it between Noah and Moses?
Oh yeah. How long is it between Noah and Moses? We're talking thousands of years. I mean, Jericho, Joshua at the Battle of Jericho. Jericho, there's a humongous tower bedded there. It's 8,000 BC. And so that means Noah has to come before that. So then you've got 8,000 down to Moses is 1,400. So you got 7,000 years there. Stories can change a lot in 7,000 years. Gilgamesh epic, let's say 2,000. So we've got at least 7,000 years that it's got to be told over. And my guess is it was much longer than that. But I can prove you can't have it any shorter than that because you got to account for towers there in the city of Damascus. There's various places that we know. You know what I'm saying? So you got to at least give me thousands of years. Yeah.
About how many generations would you estimate after Noah and Moses?
Oh, gee.
Give us an idea of how long.
No, I can't do that. Well, let me just tell you, theoretically, I can't do that. Let me just caution you about something, okay? You say, you know those genealogies in chapters 5 and 11? Did you read the genealogies in Genesis there? No. You don't add those up. Genealogies have holes in them. They're not, when it says so-and-so is the father of, okay, let me just do Matthew chapter 1. Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Excuse me? Jesus Christ, the son of David, Matthew chapter 1, verse 1. Jesus Christ, the son of David. Now you guys know, David's what? Date, give me a date. Jesus Christ, the son of David, that's 1,000 years. Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham's what? So you guys know that. So, question, was Jesus Christ the son of David? See, he said no. I say yeah. You know what son of means? Son of means descendant of. Son of does not necessarily mean direct descendant. And father can mean you guys even say till this day, our father Abraham. He's not really your father, is he? He's Dr. Wilson's father. So, all right. So, okay, that was bad. Edit that. Okay. Now, but you see, the point that I'm making is, you see what I'm saying? So when you go back into those genealogies in Genesis chapter 5 and 11, I will guarantee you there are holes there, and these guys are living 900 years anyway, and you got huge gaps. You can't do that. It's impossible. There's holes, and so I can't give you an estimate. All I know is Moses is about 1,400, 1,200, and I'll tell you Noah has to be before 8,000, because we got that tower at Jericho. So that's what? Almost 6,500 years, 6,500 years. How many generations? I don't know. And by the way, it's not just that tower at Jericho. You're going to have to push it back farther than that too. So, okay. Good questions. I just don't know the answer. Okay. Now, was Moses aware of literature like the Gilgamesh epic and the Enuma Elish? Well, you say, no, Moses was raised out in the desert chasing sheep. He barely, Moses didn't really know this literature and stuff. He was Jewish. He couldn't read all this literature anyways because he was Hebrew. And question, was Moses ignorant? Actually, where was Moses trained? Where did Moses get his training? Out in the desert with the sheep? Egypt. He was tutored as Pharaoh's daughter's son, okay? Would he have been trained in the wisdom of Egypt? Were the Egyptians exceedingly illiterate and a brilliant culture? And we're talking old Egyptian going back to Hotep that I mess with, and stuff goes back to about 2800 BC. That's like 1,400 years before Moses. Was there wisdom literature 1,400 years before Moses? Yeah, there was a whole, old Egyptian, there was Middle Egyptian, and Moses, there was a huge literary tradition prior to Moses. So Moses would, and by the way, would Moses have known about Mesopotamian legend? Was there any trade between Egypt and Mesopotamia? Those are the two big cats, man. That's why they call it the Fertile Crescents. There was stuff going back and forth all the time. So my guess is Moses knew some of these stories and may have adopted them. God, used to Moses to straighten it out. Could Moses have borrowed some of his stuff from these things, from these legends? And the answer is yes, he could have. And God, Is everything that pagan people say wrong? Is everything that pagan people say wrong? Or do pagan people say some things that are right sometimes? And if they're right, can God include them in the Bible? Are there some pagan people who speak in the Bible and speak truth in the Bible? Let me do this. Are there even some donkeys that talk in the Bible and say the truth? Yeah, the donkey speaks the truth. Numbers chapter 24, or 22, excuse me.